Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, to the weekend video. Didn't have time for the midweek video because stuff came up and I had to do some more work around, for example, my bike, which still needed spare parts that I had to get to repair it. But whatever. I'm going to make a video about the mechanics that I want to use in the pirate campaign, which includes naval mechanics as well as the factions. So this is this video. There will be another video about characters, character classes, NPCs and monsters, which will include a few other things. This video is about the naval mechanics, the factions, and a little bit about the main quest of the story. So, some fan made the D&D Naval Code, which is a very good book, and I can just say it is really cool. And we're going to look a little bit into the naval combat mechanics and the ships. For this, we're going to check out the ship stats, the officers, and then a tiny bit of the combat, at least that part of the combat that I take over. So, a ship in this book is set up of a few mechanics. There's a ship rate. First rate is basically the biggest ships. There are merchant ships, the men of war, the East Indiaman, carries some really big ships. There is the second rate ships, which is what the players will have, or what the group of players will have, the party, made up of smaller ships, like for example a brig, frigate, a schooner. I think it is named a carvel, which is a kind of smuggler ship as far as the characteristics are concerned. The galley, a clipper, which is a trading ship, junk, and the kelk, this ship. And I'm going to look on the clipper for this one to go over the mechanics. So, ships have an armor class, basic like that. We know what an armor class is. If you hit higher, you hit the ship. If you hit lower, you just miss. There will be modifiers to the armor class. For example, a good helmsman can give his proficiency to the armor class of the ship, making it harder to hit. There will be ship upgrades which increase the armor class of the ship. Hit points, if the ship is, or what works with this is damage threshold and disabled HP. So if the ship has a maximum of hit points, if the ship goes lower as the disabled hit points, then it is basically floating adrift. And if the hit points go to 0, it would sink. I'm going to change this a bit. Most combats will be over when a ship reaches disabled HP. They will basically limp away and not be able to fight anymore. If a ship reaches 0 HP, I will just roll out where it basically just drift away, lose all their wares and all their treasure, which can then be picked up, basically like Sea of Thieves. The ship is limping away, and I will roll a dice where the ship will drift ashore, and then players in this case will have to see how they repair it, how they get it afloat again, and other groups will have other stuff to do. Rigging HP refers to the rigging of the ship, all the ropes and mast rigging, and each mast basically gives 40 points of rigging HP. So if that is destroyed, the ship will decrease its speed significantly, to the point where it's basically just moving a crawling 1 hex per second. The whole thing is made up in hexes, so I will play on hexes as well, with big ships needing 3 hexes in space, medium ships, the second rate, needing 2 hexes in space, and rafts and stuff like that needs 1 hex in space. Speed again is how many hexes it can go in a combat turn. There will be navigation rolls or helmsman rolls to increase that. A successful roll gives an additional hex, which can make all the difference. Damage threshold is very simply put how much damage you have to do with a non-siege weapon to actually do damage to the ship. If you deal less than 20 damage, the ship is unfazed. Doesn't matter how often you hit a ship with a sword, it will not matter. Unless you have a very big sword. But we're talking Monster Hunter size swords now. Yeah, if you have a siege weapon like a cannon, ballista, stuff like that, you will always deal damage even if you're under 20. Cannons min-max, self-explanatory, how much weaponry you can have on your ship, minimum and maximum. Like, minimum is weird, but maximum is fine, so I will take a maximum. Skeleton crew and max crew, I will kick that out. That would be how many people you need per ship, minimum and maximum. I will kick that out. I will handwave that with magic and stuff. Storage, how much space is on a ship to store goods. Clipper has 4,000. It's basically a storage. It's basically a trading ship. Other ships have a similar size. Whereas the bigger ships obviously have more storage space. The Indiaman is a 12,000 storage monstrum that can carry a lot of stuff. Not sure why the second-rate ships do not have a ship that has more storage, while the Carvel actually has extra storage because it has a smuggling hull compartment. But yeah, Clipper as a trading ship should actually have that. Then again, these were built for speed. David slots are the number of lifeboats you can have ready. You can have more, but those are the ones you have ready that you can basically just set down in the water with a simple action or with a item interaction instead of a full-on turn. And damage immunities is obvious. You can't charm a ship, you can't poison a ship. Characteristics are very simple. The ships have extra rigging. The ships have characteristics specific to their type. Clippers have extra rigging because they have additional mast. They are faster. They are fragile. And they have more crossness, which means more lookouts, which means more initiative in combat. Which is the bridge to combat. The whole thing has a very simple, or very, not as simple a combat piece. There will be officer positions which will influence combat. For example, the captain will have a rally command which will let them give people an inspiration die similar to the bardic inspiration of 1d6. In this case, they can only do that a limited number of times, but they can basically give other people a 1d6 to their action. The surgeon, for example, is a role that can heal people while they're not in combat, that can put people back together, because there will be some of the core healing classes not allowed in this, or not wanted in this setting. But I will go to that a bit later, and also in detail in the next video, because this one will then go way too long. Combat. There's movement. The ships move a number of hexes. The helmsman can do maneuvers like turnabout, turn the ship full way around. They can try to increase the speed of the ship. They can try a not docking but similar maneuver to allow boarding, and stuff like that. So there's movement and there's roles for the helmsman included that will say how the ship is positioned in the water, if they can fire, if they are a good target. For example, if you fight a ship that is frontal, that you can only see the bow or the stern, you will have disadvantage on shooting it because it is a way smaller target than if you have the broadside to shoot on. There will be overboard saves in, for example, heavy weather or in combat, which will hopefully disadvantage or disincentivize people from taking heavy armor, because I don't want heavy armor in this setting. It feels wrong to have people wearing a full armor in this one. And the idea is that if you go overboard in a full body or in a heavy armor, you're basically drowning. You're basically dead. And yeah, the ship hit points is so clear. Casualties, we will come to that. Boarding will be its own. I will basically make a map of ships and basically we'll see, do they board a big ship, do they board a small ship, will they be boarded, or basically have different maps depending on what kind of boarding it is, and they will have to then be on that map. But yeah, that will basically then go back to normal D&D combat. One important thing is it doesn't matter if you're a fighter with 4 attacks per turn. You can only shoot any weapon on the ship once, which will lead me over to this Google document. I will link in the description. The ship weaponry that we have, that I will have in the campaign, because I want to keep this simple and memorizable for people, memorable for people. Yeah, there's four tiers, basically ballistas, which deal a single 1d10, have fair range, not much HP if they are hit, and yeah, are siege weapons. Basically, they do damage on the ship, even if the ship because the ship does only take full damage from siege weapons, unless you overcome the damage threshold. Carronades are 2d6, have smaller range or shorter range than the ballista, and they have the special shrapnel rule, which means if you're close enough, you can try to hit the enemy with shrapnel ammunition, effectively hitting twice. But you need to be very close for that, within 50 to 200 feet, so very small range. But it's basically for people who want to go entering and boarding anyway. The cannon is the main weapon in this campaign, more or less. Deals a hefty 2d10, 150 to 600 feet range, has 50 HP, so it's really not that easy to destroy, and has loading 3. I think that's a typo. It is supposed to be loading 2. Also siege weapon, so yeah, deals full damage against ships usually. And the Culverin, which is a special weapon, in a sense it deals the most damage, but it doesn't have the siege property, so you have to roll really high to actually do ship damage. But it is precise, so you can attack. For one, you can crit on a 20, and which I didn't write down yet, can target specific parts of the enemy ship, which means in this case weapons, rigging, masts, which would be rigging, and destroying the rigging would also, for one, increase the difficulty on maneuvers, as well as decrease the speed if they are taken down. So they can basically just strand a ship and then shoot it down without the enemy being able to fight back, because they also destroyed the weapons on the enemy ship. This is the idea of the Culverin, at least. And the Ram, which deal damage depending on the size of the own ship, the size and the speed at which they hit, or more or less the amount of hexes they traveled to before they made contact. And that's everything about the combat so far. I try to keep it simple, I try to keep it understandable, so the players that I have will not have to yeah. There's a cool cannon aim template which I find interesting. I might take that over. That will give the combat a bit more incentive to move and turn the ship. This will basically give the helmsman a bit more function The captain can help the helmsman with commands and rally, or the gunners, depending on the situation. So I will most likely grab these templates. And there's a cool ship character sheet, which I will have to somehow put over into for Foundry. But enough of that. Let's look into the factions that I made up. There's 3 factions, mainly stolen from Pirates of the Caribbean and the Sea Beast, and there's a movie, The Sea Beast, animated movie, and Sea of Thieves. Right, that's the name of the game. We're looking into Mystic Odyssey of Theros and Tasha's Cauldron. So, from the Mystic Odyssey, I took the piety system, which means if you do a good thing for a god, for example, in this case, defending a city from a major threat, or defeating a tyrant who threatens a city's freedom, or creating a masterwork such as a building or poem, blah, blah. You will get good boy points, which gives you piety, or in the case of our campaign, renown. And if you do something bad, like betraying someone's trust, or destroying a civic institution, or sowing chaos, or willfully breaking just laws, then you will get the deduction of the good boy points. Yeah, at different states of piety or renown, you get different boni. So basically, people can climb the ranks of the guilds without being guild members. The guild doesn't accept new members. They're basically stationary groups of people. If you were a guild member, you wouldn't be able to travel the sea effectively. And from Tasha's Cauldron, I took the group patrons, in this case the guild, which will give accommodations to the players, equipment, resources, training. Yeah, that is the stuff that the players can get, and let's look into that. The Hunter's Guild, stolen straight from the Sea Beast, is basically a group that specializes in hunting big sea monsters. And they give quests out for hunting a specific monster, defending a specific area, or instituting some wards against the Kraken, which I took out of for the King games, which have Kraken wards. If you use them, the Kraken will not spawn for a few rounds. That is something I will take over. There's Kraken wards which the players can activate to ward off the area against the Kraken. Activating each one will be a quest in itself, with gathering stuff and preparing this, but they can basically Kraken-proof the whole area if they wanted to. Yeah. They sell the weapons and ammunition for the ship weaponry, and you get Cannoneer and Master Gunner training there, which I will go to in the next video, which will contain the officer ranks. Yeah, and if you get 3 renown with the group, you are known as a freelancer. You get the Armor of Agathis once per day as a spell-like ability. If you get to 10 renown, you are an associate. You get a bursting shot ammunition, which will give you a number of uses equal to your proficiency, and it takes to additional 2d6 force damage. I basically just stole the bursting arrow from the ranger, but whatever. It's mine now. Yeah, you basically get special ammo for your ship weapons, which deals additional damage, but you only have a limited number of uses. You regain those uses if you visit a Hunter's Guild outpost. On 25 renown, you're a confident, and your ramming gets better. You get less damage when you get rammed, and you get less damage when you ram someone. This ramming will obviously do damage to your own ship. and this is reduced here. Also, champion, if you slay these, if the players slay the serpent, a legendary encounter, they will get bronze chip armaments and blessings, which increases basically just the damage they do overall against anything. More damage, because more damage is always fun. Just more dice, bigger numbers. But yeah, this is one part of the main quest. So the main quest is basically finishing all 3 of these champion quests for these 3 guilds that are in the game. This is the idea, this is the goal that the players will have. If they decide they will just do one and then finish the campaign because they don't only wanted to do this one thing, that's fine. I will consider the campaign over and done when they have done all 3. This is this is the goal I would have as a DM. This means the whole campaign is very open, very sandboxy, with the with a very loose main quest that they can do. The second, okay, back to the groups. The second one is the Stasia's Order, which gives low accommodations again. It's not really cool. They have basically tents. They give arcane ship upgrades and they give navigation aids, making the navigation rolls easier to traverse the ocean. Basically, the group has a navigation roll each day, and they can, if they get, of course, they need more hours to get to their target, basically increasing the time they take to the next goal. And these navigation aids will help with those rolls, as well as finding specific spots. For example, the resources these guys sell maps. These guys also remove curses. When people inevitably get cursed, they resurrect dead NPCs and PCs, and they have enchantments. So this is basically the magic dudes and dudettes. They train people as navigators and arcanists. Arcanists can shield the ship, basically give the ship temporary HP, which will reduce the downtimes. I will talk about downtimes in a separate video next time, or I will put this in the next video. But yeah, I want to reduce downtimes, so arcanists will basically have something to do with shielding the ship, temporary HP, protection of the ship, additional AC if available. Okay, so for a freelancer, free renown, you get gentle repose at will, which will help with all the undead that will be in this campaign. Channel divinity as well, it turns undead, which will help with handling all the skeleton crews and undead pirates that are going around. The confidence get the ability to change the weather, not in, but for the ship around for 1 to 4 hours. They can basically just force a small storm cloud. They can make it windy, which might increase their travel speed and stuff like that. They can basically just work around with the weather a bit. Some divination magic, if you will. And if they defeat or banish or otherwise get rid of the Flying Dutchman, the crew gets a permanent increase in sailing speed and travel time reduction, and the ship gets a permanent +2 to AC due to charms placed upon its hull by the Stasia's Order. So yeah, basically Arcanist Deluxe. And the last group is the Traders Union. I stole that directly from, this is a mix of the traders people from Sea of Thieves and the Gold Digger, Gold Finder, Treasure Hunter group there. They give very good accommodations. Basically, they always have a room for the rooms for the crew to give out to. They sell normal ship upgrades, which includes like we want a second crow's nest, we want ship repairs. Oh yeah, crew replacement is actually ship repairs. But yeah, ship upgrades, like we want the hidden compartment. We want the no, the RAM is actually with the other guild, but we want specific stuff done to the. We want ores, we want ore ports, we want maybe additional slots for weaponry and stuff. They also have trade goods, so you can basically just go, hey, we want a few pounds of, we want to buy some silk, and we're gonna trade it somewhere off without a traders union contract, which will then make them trade goods, so they can also, the players can also just like go around and trade up stuff and make some money that way. Yeah, and finally, ship repairs are also part of the traders union, which includes shipwrights or boatswains, as I think they're called in the naval code. Yeah, they train shipwrights slash boatswains and surgeons. Again, next time more to the specific classes. And yeah, freelancers get a ritual that locates a chest nearby, which is helpful if they want to dig out a specific treasure or find where it's hidden. Because I don't want people to be to have 2 sessions running around an island, so looking for a chest and just passing it 5 times. This is stupid. I hate this when this happens to me in games. I don't want this to happen to players in this. As associate, the repair ships for the ships, the repair prices for the ship go down. The idea is basically to have this one be around the economy of the ship. One for offense, one for defense, one for economy are the guilds. The confident basically handwaves some of the fees the group has to play. For example, pay their NPCs they have with them. I have to stop, my throat is getting even coarser. But yeah, the confidence means as long as they work for the traders will pay their fees and their wages for them. And as a champion, if they raise a very specific ship and return its lost cargo to the Traders Guild, they get the ship they unearthed or they raised from the ground. So there will be stuff about raiding ships. There will be spells about getting lost ships and shipwrecks back, including their treasure. And that will be a whole part of the story in itself. But yeah, if the crew gets the lily back, defeats the serpent, most likely with the lily, and handles the Dutchman, that is basically what the main quest is about. The ship is here, the legendary ship, so you can check that out if you want in the document. I will link the document under the video. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope this is interesting to you, and yeah, stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you guys in the next one.